So I just want to do a quick video, and I kept thinking in the back of my head as all these crises are happening right now. Talking about the Dallas shooting. Prior to that, we had the Orlando incident, and I understand some things are being cast as hoaxes, some are real. Again, I don't even want to get into it, but bottom line, all this stuff is picking up. Right after that happened, I immediately read, I think it was in Miami somewhere, some country club or something, or private school, I forget what the hell it was. SWAT team was called in, potential active shooter. Oh, wait a minute, it was actually a drill. They were doing a drill. And it said in there, we're doing a drill. Something along those lines on one of these. There was a few, I think it was that one. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then we had 3 different states, I think. Georgia, I think, was one of them. Maybe Louisiana. Tennessee, I think, maybe that was the 3. Officers being shot at by upset black people due to the killings of these recent 2 black people. One inside the car next to the girl, the other one in front of the convenience store. And I've seen there's 2 different camera angles to that one, the one in the convenience store. The 2 cops are on top of the guy. His left hand is trapped. He's not even trying to move. He says, freeze or don't move or something. And you can see the guy's left hand kind of go like I'm not moving, that kind of a movement. You cannot see his right hand at all. But the one officer yells, gun, gun, don't move. The other one puts a gun right in his chest and says something like, don't effing move. Then the other cop, I think that's when I'm trying to think at one point when the other cop starts firing, but you can see from the other video, the cop that you don't see or in the backside is the one that put the gun on him and starts shooting at him. You do see blood and stuff coming out where his heart area is. And I'm watching some of these people on YouTube that actually do a good job catching these hoaxes, running with this one too, saying it's a hoax because of blah, blah, blah. I just, some of this stuff is not a hoax. Every single time isn't a hoax. And people are arguing over the Dallas shooting, the bullets sparking. Bullets don't spark when they hit concrete, yada, yada, yada. Okay, first of all, they're not hitting concrete. I zoomed in with Google Street View. That sidewalk area is made of some kind of like little small hard rocks. I don't know what they call that, what the term is for that, but it's like this nice hard rock material. That's a sidewalk. On the back side of that, where the wall is some kind of brick, not red brick that you'd see at your house. It's stuff that I've seen typically at like courthouses downtown, things like that. I see that type of brick. Again, I don't know what it's made of, but it's not concrete, it's brick. So when I see this guy shooting his assault rifle and it's sparking as he's shooting, and you can see the way his gun is aiming, it's aiming where these sparks are coming from. And then you listen to the audio and you see the spark, and then a moment later you hear the bang, the gun shooting. Now, that's typical when you're right down the street, which is what the case was with the main video that's being shown. He's about a half block away up in a high-rise building or whatever, looking down. So when you see the flash, you're not going to hear the sound immediately because it has to travel 650 feet per second. This guy's probably a half a block away, so it's about a second and a half, whatever it is, right? And I'm hearing that, and then the second shot lines up. It makes audible sense. These videos, especially that one, was out the same night it happened. That video was on immediately. You can't fake and edit that and make sure the sound adds up and all that stuff. I also saw another video thanks to a YouTube user named Enter the Stars, who is very unbiased, like myself, who is willing to look at everything and not jump to conclusions every single time. And he found the video showing someone shooting a cinder block, piece of concrete, in the middle of the night, and it absolutely sparked. The key here is that the type of ammunition that's out there are some that have steel core, ball core, all kinds of different stuff that have metal in it, not just lead, which normally doesn't spark. But if you do have pure lead out of a bullet, especially an assault rifle speeding very fast, and it hits that hard rock, little pebble, whatever, rocks, they will absolutely spark. I've actually played with larger rocks of that same color at Adventure Island in Tampa, Florida when I was a kid. They had them lined up at this one area. We used to slide down this hill when it would rain. And we would get the rocks and go clack, 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 clack. And you would, in broad daylight, see sparks flying, plap, plap, plap. So imagine a bullet from an assault weapon that normally the bullet and in the casing and all is about this big. The bullet itself is probably about that big. But it is going at an extremely high velocity and it's hitting at an angle, that rock stuff. It is absolutely going to spark. And they say, well, what about the one when it looks like this, firework just kind of sparks in the middle of the two pillars? It doesn't make sense. How does this spark come out of nowhere? I'm looking at the video and I can see the pillars and I see the gunman coming out and he's at an angle facing the cop that comes around from behind on the other pillar, who peeks out, I guess tries to pop off a round or two, then he sees it, turns around, starts engaging him, and starts running at him. The way he's running, he's facing the big wall of the building. He ends up firing at least one shot, I see, and that's when you see the spark go in the middle of the screen. That's because it's the wall that got hit, not a bullet in the middle of the air in the middle of these two pillars. You're only talking a few feet behind the pillars is this giant wall with bricks in it. He then cuts around, tricks the officer, guns him down. He starts pulling the trigger before he even gets to the cop. And as he's doing this, you can see a couple sparks fly for where the bullet's hitting this material. Again, I don't know what the material is, but it's not pure concrete. Now, the cops down the street who he was just engaging a moment ago are still firing at him. And you can see their bullets hitting the big giant pillars, and you can see the concrete dust flying out. That is completely normal. And I expect not to see sparks flying, especially from a 9mm or 40 caliber handgun shooting into pure concrete like that. We're not talking about pure concrete. You can use Google Street View. It's Lamar and Elm Street, I believe, was the coordinates for Street View. Lamar, I think, and Elm Street, I believe. It's downtown Dallas. So the interesting thing is when even the Street View vehicle is on this side of the street. So you have one lane and then the building. So I was like, well, just out of curiosity, let me just turn the view of the camera this way. And sure enough, the same material is made up of the sidewalk is also that too. So you can get a really close in view right off of the Google Street View. It is absolutely not normal concrete. This is like that rock stuff. So that is the only thing right now that is standing out as this is false or, hoax. They added the special effects like they do in movies. Let me tell you something about myself as well regarding the guns. I'm just going to name some of the guns that I've shot, not just once or twice. AK-47, which, by the way, the assailant used an SKS, which is basically the twin sister of an AK-47. Shoots the same round, 7.62 2x39. I've shot an AK-74, which is more like a 223 round, similar. It's not a 223, but very similar. 5.45 by 39, I believe, is that one. I've shot 9mm, 45s, 40, 44 Magnum, 38, actually 38 Special, technically speaking. I shot a handgun that was a shotgun shells. I used to have, sold it a long time ago, what is called a Sega 12, which is essentially an AK-47 frame that shoots 12 gauge shotgun shells, slugs, buckshot, all that. And the reason I sold it was because it was quite heavy. When you put them, the banana clip in or whatever, it holds like 12 rounds in that thing. And you start popping off a few shots rapid fire, your shoulder does not appreciate that at all. It's game over at that point. I don't think I want to shoot anymore. My shoulder's kind of bothering me a little bit. Not too fun. So I just want to let you know I know a little bit about guns. Not going to call myself an expert. Certainly know about hollow points, full metal jackets, ball ammo, how they have steel core, some of the very common ammo for these weapons. The AK-47, the SKS is I think a Chinese made brand that is very common to use that steel. So a steel round hitting pure concrete actually will spark, but we're not talking about that. So I want to just cover that for a minute because there's been a lot of controversy all of a sudden over that. I tried to talk to the guy Russian Vids about this because he immediately jumps in. Oh, it's a hoax, it's Sparkler, Sparks. Won't let me comment. I can't reply. No free speech on his channel for all Jason 4. Ended up calling me a shill. You're a shill. I said, dumbass, go check my channel before you call me a shill. I mean, really. So, having said that, he does have some interesting videos that he's got some good work on. Enter the Stars, on the other hand, did what I did. Let me analyze everything I can. Let me try to see if it's possible for sparks to fly in certain circumstances. And answer is a resounding, absolutely yes. And he links to a video, Enter the Stars does, that shows almost identical looking sparks flying. Very, very similar. So I want to get on to just briefly talk about this Webbot report. The same one I just talked about the other day with the female hero thing coming up. So this part is about the USA Pop from the Webbot report. And I want you to think about everything that has happened very recently, from Orlando shootings to the girl, what's her name? Last name is Grimmie, the singer, Christina Grimmie. Fan walks up to her. This is right within a day, I think, of the Orlando incident. Walks right up to her, shoots her, kills her. Then they have the Orlando incident. Again, hoax, not hoax, false flag, not, means nothing. Not for this point. You have that incident. Then we have these two black men shot and killed. Again, whether they deserved it, they didn't, they went for a gun. Regardless, it's causing serious problems in the black community, and they're getting pissed off. And then we immediately have what looks like retaliatory actions by someone in relation to that. Yes, it was a black person. So that was the Dallas incident. We've had now after that, Louisiana, I think, was in riot control gear dealing with protests over there. They had a Molotov cocktail was thrown at somebody. We had the other shootings I mentioned earlier about Tennessee, Georgia, and this one. I think it was those 3 states. There were definitely 3 states. One man, they said in Tennessee, I believe, he said he was pissed off at what had just happened to these black men, and he was wanting to shoot some cops, something like that. So we are entering what appears to be a summer of crisis or crises, right? And when I think about that, I said, man, I think that exact word was being used, that phrase was being used by the Webbot report. Let me go dig it up. So I think I found the section. And it's in the USA Pop. It's actually page 20. Look out for the resurgence of an old-time economic religion within the ruling elite of USA Pop, as the idea of price controls will come to be floated about in front of the public as the hyperinflation starts. The idea used to be wage and price controls, but now with no one working, the wage part of that equation will be absent from the discussion. Thus, the data is indicating that this will induce the producer class to shouting and wailing about an unfair burden that they will feel is theirs alone. It kind of sounds like us now with paying for everybody's Obamacare. These new sets are part of the long trailing response from officialdom period as the ruling elite get bashed over summer, manifesting now, and have to respond. Again, many new sets contain supporting sets for wonky, ill-advised, upside down, and bespoke stupid as being applied generally to these officialdom responses as the summer of crises will be heating up through July and August. So that last sentence is what kind of captured my mind for a minute, thinking about everything that's happened. These officialdom responses as the summer of crises will be heating up through July and August. So I'll read the sentence before again. Again, many new sets contain supporting sets for wonky, ill-advised, upside down, and bespoke stupid as being applied generally to these officialdom responses. So that would be the police, the government, as the summer of crises will be heating up through July and August. That's very interesting, again, for this software program to pick up on this stuff, talking about this summer, and have all these words floating around. while keeping in mind, I realized the first several sentences was about, old time economic religion and price controls and all that stuff. How about our buddies over in the EU right now? I sent myself a video to do after this one. Deutsche Bank's chief economist calls for 150 billion euro bailout of the European banks. Of course, Deutsche Bank, the $70 trillion hog. So these are Western countries. Yes, it's not the USA, but this is happening at the same time that this other stuff's happening. And as I've mentioned before with the webbot, it can sometimes pick up on two different things that are going to happen, and it's interpreted as all in one little bundle. It is not only this is not the first time something like this has happened in the webbot. It has done it before. I used this example the other day about the Wall Street protests, with the ladies got caught in the net and got pepper sprayed and all that. That was in the webbot report. Nailed it. And that said there would be beheadings too. So everyone's waiting to see that. Never happened, except it did happen at the same exact time that those events were happening down on Wall Street. Happened in Mexico. A bunch of women got beheaded for blowing the whistle on the cartel. So again, it's like two different things that don't belong together. Webbot cannot figure that out for whatever reason. So it looks like it needs to be interpreted as one event. So if you look at Europe right now, the Italian banks are in big, 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 big trouble. Deutsche Bank, which is a German bank, absolutely enormous trouble. And here we have them again. How about $150 billion bailout? How does that sound? And let me guess, it'll just be the beginning. It won't be enough. They'll need another one. Because remember, we just got done doing this several years back, 2008, and they got way more. All these guys got way more than $120 billion. They were in the trillions. So if I give you this absolute immense amount of cash, absurd amounts that make the average citizen say, holy crap, what's going on here? The last thing I want as a citizen to say is, excuse me, you need more 8 years later? Pardon me? That wasn't enough before? So, I just wanted to share that with you, and I needed to talk about the whole shooting thing in Dallas to start this video off with, but that's all I want to tell you right now. Take care.